Hello, everybody, and thank you for coming to Stablecoins Are Killing It, episode number 13. We've got a good show for you today, and we've got Zach Kwartler from Paxos. Hey, Zach.
Hey, Lou. Thanks for having me on the show.
Sure, great to have you. And you were just saying that you're dialing in from Charlottesville.
Yeah, Charlottesville, Virginia. It's been getting progressively less hot here, so that's been nice.
That's cool. And also, we'll be joined by Gregory Klumov with STASIS. Gregory, hopefully, will be checking in shortly. And we're going to start the show with Zach. But before we do that, I'm Lou Kerner. I'm with Just Stable, which is a recently launched messaging board using the platform to web that actually leverages stablecoins to create a dynamic message board environment, reward people for good messages and stuff. So check it out at juststable.com. If you tweet with the hashtag JustStable, we'll send you some tokens, some stable coins, so you can become active in the community without actually even having to spend any money. And you can be active without spending money. You can leave messages and such. But it's it's a new concept. We're excited to get some feedback from you. And the way this show works, most people who are here have seen earlier shows. But the first half of the show will be Zach and Gregory will present their projects and share some of their macro views on stablecoins. And then the second half of the show will be Q&A from the audience. So if at any time, while Greg or Zach are talking, you've got some questions, put it into the chat on Zoom. And if we want to ask your questions, we will open up your video and your audio, and you become a panelist and you can ask the question yourself. And so with that, Zach, you've got slides that you want to share?
I do.
Okay.
I think.
Terrific. I just have to make you the host, and then you'll be able to grab the screen.
Great.
And now you are host.
All right. This will stop. Yes. Perfect. I guess, can you see the Stablecoins Are Killing It deck with the Paxos logo?
Exactly.
Perfect. Cool. So I'll jump in here again. I guess try to keep this to a 10 to 12-minute presentation. And yeah, Lou, thanks again for having me on the show. For everyone, I'm Zach Kwartler, Senior Product Manager at Paxos, where I'm the product lead for our stablecoin platform, which powers 3 of the 6 largest stablecoins in crypto, Pax, BUSD, and HUSD. And just for some context, I joined Paxos a little over a year ago. I was really motivated by the company's approach to being a regulated company specializing in digital asset tokenization, which I just thought was a great way to make the benefits of public blockchains available to just like a much wider group of people. And so for the discussion today, for the first bit, want to just give everyone a bit of an overview of what Paxos is focused on and sort of how stablecoins fit into that. And then for the sort of second half, I'll dive into sort of more specifics on like the stablecoin projects that I've been working on. So in terms of Paxos, our mission is to enable the movement of any asset, anytime in a trustworthy way. And the way, again, that we've gone about achieving that mission is that we are a regulated financial institution. New York Department of Financial Services, or NYDFS, is our primary regulator. And we've really basically used a regulation-first approach to then be an innovator in sort of digital asset tokenization technologies across cash, as well as gold and other securities. And I guess the reason that we've sort of taken this approach is that the market opportunity that we're sort of pursuing is we believe that over time, sort of like there's $600 trillion of assets in the world. We think that over the next 20 years, there's going to be a mass migration where at least half those assets, so $300 trillion, move on to public blockchains. We think that that's going to create a lot of economic value for society. And we believe that that's going to necessitate a new type of sort of financial infrastructure provider. And so our goal has been to take a regulation-first approach to build out sort of new infrastructure that enables asset tokenization across a range of asset classes. And in terms of in practice, how that works is that we see the problem we're solving is that, institutions and individuals that, have real world assets and want to move them onto public blockchains, and that we're providing sort of like a regulatory platform where we can securely custody assets across crypto, cash, and gold. So we got our trust charter from NYDFS in 2015. We were the first sort of company in the crypto space to get a trust charter. And we've expanded that to support other asset classes. And then basically we hold those assets. And then in the case where they're not natively crypto, so like for cash, for example, we tokenize those assets onto blockchains, make them available to users across the world. And then we hold the underlying assets in custody. So if at any point a user wants to say redeem their stablecoin for cash, they can do that. And then in terms of distribution, we focus on just like partnering with enterprises to really power sort of like solutions that they're launching to their end users. And then in terms of just like the different products that Paxos offers, so sort of the one that I'm most focused on, stablecoins, and the one that's the subject of this meeting, again, we power sort of 3 of the top 6 stablecoins: Pax, HUSD, BUSD. All of those are backed one-to-one with US dollars, and we're providing the infrastructure platform for those. For again, sort of BUSD or Binance Dollar was a partnership that we launched with Binance. HUSD was a partnership that we launched with Huobi. In addition to those, we've launched Pax Gold, which was the first regulated sort of, I guess, like gold-backed token that's gotten up to a market cap of 60 million in its first year, and again has a lot of exciting partnerships on the way. And then on the crypto side, we recently launched a crypto brokerage product. Revolut was our launch partner there, and that's an API-first product targeted towards fintech apps that want to make crypto available to their end users, and we're similarly able to provide the regulatory and technology platform to facilitate that. So now getting into Paxos stablecoins, again, one of the things, and I mentioned this already, that differentiates Paxos stablecoins is that they are regulated tokens. So both the two stablecoins that we've issued, Paxos Standard, or Pax, which we issued in September 2018, and Binance Dollar, BUSD, which we issued in September 2019, were both approved by a regulator. Sort of, I think those two of the 3 stablecoins that have that distinction. And I think one of the reasons why that matters is that sort of having the token be regulated, we think is going to enable over time a lot more sort of like cash to move into the crypto ecosystem. Sort of all by nature of us being a trust, that assets backing the stablecoin are held back bankruptcy remote, and all of sort of our controls and processes around the stablecoins are subject to regulatory oversight, which we think will bring a lot of trust into the ecosystem. And then in terms of sort of like, I guess, the product that I've been focused on, one thing I've been working on a product offering that we call Stablecoin-as-a-Service, which essentially our goal is to be just like the background infrastructure provider for partners that want to launch white label stablecoins, where we're providing both like the regulatory stack and the technology stack to do that. And so there's a real breadth of capabilities that we offer here. On the technology front, we have expertise in sort of smart contract design of stablecoins. We provide a set of API endpoints for our partners to integrate into their platforms for sort of creation and redemption of the stablecoin. We hold all the private keys in custody. We provide manage transaction monitoring and on-chain reporting. We go through the process with NYDFS of getting the token approved by a regulator. We manage the underlying cash in the reserve and perform all KYC activities. And I think one of the things sort of that makes this unique is that we're sort of providing an integrated solution for both the regulatory pieces and traditional financial services pieces of managing a stablecoin, as well as all of the technology. And just to, I guess, touch a bit on one sort of our first partnership in Stablecoin-as-a-Service was with Binance last year to launch BUSD, which was a white label stablecoin, launched September 2019. sort of in its first year of existence, the market cap has gotten up to $190 million, which actually I think kind of undersells the adoption the token's gotten. If you look at Masari on any given day, it's at this point a top 10 traded asset in the crypto ecosystem, which we've been really excited about. And then just one other thing is that because for BUSD, Pax, and HUSD, we're holding the dollars backing all those tokens sort of in our custody, we offer one-to-one conversion with no fees for those tokens so that people can move them seamlessly throughout the crypto ecosystem.
Now, Zach, it's my understanding the main use of the tokens are for trading on their platform, or is that not the case?
Yeah, I would say that the sort of the primary use for BUSD today has been trading on Binance, but it has been as well adopted by a number of other DeFi companies as well as other companies in the crypto space.
Okay.
Great. And then, yeah, I guess just sort of in closing out, one of the things that I think at Paxos we're most excited about with stablecoins is just, and this will be familiar to I think everyone on the show, is just how they bring the best of crypto, of being decentralized, always available, cheap, and really fast, with just like the trusted, familiar sort of like stable nature of the US dollar as a means of exchange. And really, we think that our regulation first approach is over time going to just really enable a lot of new companies to enter the market that see stablecoins as a powerful technology for their businesses. And so, yeah, I think that wraps up the presentation. I guess, Lou, thanks again for having me on the show.
Okay, terrific. Thanks a lot, Zach. That was great. Gregory has not logged on to the show, not quite sure what's going on. Emailed a couple hours ago requesting the link again, so I sent it to him. And emailed him. Hopefully he'll show up, but if he doesn't, he doesn't. So I'm going to start off asking questions, and if folks in the audience again have some questions, feel free to write them in. Or you probably have a couple going already. But from what you were talking about before, first, what were you doing before Paxos?
Yeah, so before Paxos, I was working at AppNexus, so over in advertising technology. I was there for about 5.5 years, last 3 as a product manager, and then sort of saw the company through its wave of late stage growth, and then we were acquired by AT&T in 2018. And
so shortly after you were bought by AT&T, you moved over. Were you into crypto at that point already?
Yeah, I definitely get that question a lot. I've been really passionate about blockchain for a number of years. I think one of the things just being in ad tech is that you saw how just dominant the major internet companies had become, and really of all the technologies out there, it felt like blockchain was the one that could provide sort of a countervailing force to that trend. And so that, I would say, was that promise was really what motivated me most.
And what's been the biggest surprise in the time that you've been at Paxos?
I would say the biggest surprise, probably coming from ad tech to sort of Paxos and fintech, is just the speed of the industry. I think, ad tech, it was, pretty fast moving, but I just think that the nature of innovation and, both in terms of just the technology and the global nature of who's doing the innovation in the crypto space is unlike anything I've ever seen before.
Undoubtedly, it's crazy, so hard just to keep up. What's the, how do you talk about your customers for the stablecoins?
Yeah, so for our customers, I'd say I think of our customers as 2 different buckets. One is they're sort of our white label partners Binance and Huobi. We're partnering with for the token issuance. We also work very closely with a number of the leading market makers in this space who are doing a lot of the creation, the redemption of sort of stablecoins on our platform and distributing them throughout the crypto ecosystem. And then, lastly, I think from an ecosystem partner perspective, we do a lot of work engaging with, all the exchanges, wallets, lending platforms, other, players in the crypto space to make sure that our stablecoins are adding value for their platforms and their users.
Makes a lot of sense. One thing you did mention was kind of payment platforms. Folks who would use the stable tokens to actually, pay employees, cross-border payments, e-commerce.
Right. I guess I did neglect to mention that we are also partnered with the major crypto payments companies. So if you think of like a BitPay, for example, our tokens are supported by them.
And is that business? Are those businesses scaling yet? Do you think, and if not, why don't you think they are?
I honestly don't. I'm not. Don't have a clear answer for that one. I would say I definitely think there's a lot of excitement around sort of like stablecoins and payments, and it's sort of an area that we're spending a lot of time looking into. But I think a lot of it probably comes down to usability and scale, and as I'm sure you've seen, I think a lot of times stablecoins and sort of the core technology to an everyday user, I think can be still a bit tough. And so I think yeah.
It's still not that easy to use. What about geographically? How do your customers break out?
Yeah, so we're a global company. I would say we have companies really creating, redeeming our stable coins. I'd say from over 50 countries at least. So it's a pretty definitely a lot of Asian customers, but also a bunch in the US and Europe as well.
Okay, and is there one area that's faster growing?
No, I would say the growth has been pretty uniformly distributed to date, and yeah, just nothing in particular comes to mind there.
Okay, cool. Got our first question from Glenn Rosenberg. Hey, Glenn.
Hey, Lou. How are you?
Good.
Good. Hey, Zach. Nice to meet you. Enjoy the presentation. So I'm typically a king of compound questions, so I apologize in advance, but I'll hit you with a few at once. I'm curious to understand a little bit more with the Stablecoin-as-a-Service, the regulatory tick boxes that you check. In other words, like does Paxos, as a regulated entity, act as a transfer agent or as a FINRA regulated BD? And because when you talk about, I understand the current projects you have on chain, but also you talk about the $600 trillion to move on chain, and so much of that is going to be a lot of your more traditional type of securities that you want to move on chain for whatever purpose. And I'm curious, if Paxos is capable today of moving security type of assets on chain via a token, and what that process is to do so. In other words, like I also saw that you in that one slide, the use of smart contracts. So is it like taking the financial asset, put into a smart contract and creating a coin from that? Kind of like maybe a MakerDAO or a Securitize might do?
Got it.
It's a lot, I know, so
Yeah, maybe there's a couple of pieces there. So just in terms of our stable coins, so Pax and BUSD we've worked with sort of like MIDFS, who's our primary regulator, to approve the issuance of the token. And I think in that they're looking at both just the sort of what we're doing with how we're managing the underlying cash, the sort of technology, and then the controls around that.
So that's all like FinCEN stuff.
So yeah, I don't want to comment on the specific regulators, but it's sort of that scope of activity. And the reason is, this is something where I probably would ask our chief compliance to chime in on the specifics there.
Okay.
And then on the securities front, I know I did mention that earlier. We received a no action relief letter from the SEC in sort of Q4 of 2019, and we've been working with a few sort of like street side broker dealers to run a private sort of US equities settlement project. And that's, I guess, for context of like, stable coins are on ERC20 smart contract, public blockchain versus securities on a private blockchain. That's just, largely driven by just like the nature of sort of like those asset classes and the state of regulation in them right now.
So just last follow-up then. So then you can take a financial asset that would be in the traditional markets, regulated by either like an SEC or CFTC or whomever, and move that on chain into a digital asset, because those type of tokens would be considered securities. And so I guess my core question then is, is Paxos able to handle that type of activity?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say that like really we look at sort of like tokenization on an asset class by asset class basis, and then sort of always take a regulation first approach. So whether it's cash, commodities, or securities, we make sure that we have like the necessary regulatory structure in place before we tokenize any assets.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Zach.
Thanks.
Thanks, Lou.
We had a question from Miklos Denkler on if you're going to be doing a silver-backed token.
Oh man, I get this question a lot. Yeah, so I would say one thing, I assume the silverback token is related to sort of our launch of Pax Gold. And I would say that really for the near term, our focus has definitely been on just like driving adoption of Pax Gold within the crypto ecosystem, which, we think we've gotten good traction there, but also have a lot of runway. I think, silver is likely something we would look at it in the future. But one of the things that's interesting is actually storing silver. It's like takes up a lot more space than gold. So I would say for physical commodities, like each asset has its own sort of like unique challenges.
Interesting. And what are your thoughts on CBDCs and the impact they're going to have on the stablecoin marketplace?
Yeah, so with CBDCs, I mean, on the one hand, I would say really, exciting, and I think validation of stablecoins as a technology. I would also very early days. And so, one of the things that we look at Paxos is just for any CBDC is like, is it going to be on sort of a digitally closed or digitally open ledger? And, that's something that I would say it's definitely early days and still evolving.
And in terms of other stablecoin projects that are out there, that are doing all kinds of different things, are there any that you're seeing that go, well, that's interesting, or I think the innovation they're bringing is, is going to be impactful?
Yeah, I would say the thing that one thing that I've been following a lot is I think just usability around mobile wallets. I think is not stablecoins specifically, but to your earlier question around what's going to unlock just like a much wider number of users to adopt stablecoins. I think that sort of that mobile wallet UX is like a really key component. And so that's something that, I have a bunch of like the wallet apps on my phone, and I'm just always like kind of like moving money back and forth between them just to see, what does the experience look like? And like, is this something that I could envision my parents doing anytime soon?
Interesting. Does anybody, I think of the kind of the leader in that space, from how I'm looking at it, as being Cello, as being the stablecoin that's really focused most on that kind of mobile first experience. Are there others that you're thinking that, wow, they've nailed it, or what they're doing is interesting?
Yeah, I would say just like in general, I think any project that's growing, it's like a net positive for the industry. And yeah, that's just like my general sense. There's not one particular one that comes to mind right now.
Okay, and what about on the stablecoin as a service? It's obviously, I think that's going to be a growing sector as well. Kind of how are you seeing that project evolving, and kind of what companies are interested in leveraging the platform?
Yeah, so I would say stablecoin as a service. It's definitely something where I think there's just like a lot of interest in stablecoins as a technology. It's still I think pretty early days in terms of like what sort of like specific companies will adopt it. But but you know, to date, we've been, I'd say, really excited about sort of like a partnership with Binance. And then I think sort of the next wave of companies are going to be ones that really want to kind of like, you know, have more of a traditional asset footprint that want to like really bridge into digital assets. And that's something where, just given the nature of their existing business, like regulation is a really key component.
Okay, makes sense. And you know, I guess we're not going to be joined by STASIS today. Yeah, this happens. So you know, I think we'll have the show be a half hour today, and that's fine. So thanks a lot for your time. But you know, last couple of questions first. What do you think if we're here in a year, Zach, and we're talking about stable coins? What do you think we'll be talking about in a year that we're not talking about today?
Yeah, so you know, I would hope that a year from now, we're just talking about stablecoins having a more adopted use case outside of just like the traditional crypto ecosystem. I think that's the one. It feels like, and you know, just reading your blog and just like the general growth, it feels like it's a matter of when, not if. But it's just like, you know, what is that crossover use case? I think is the big open question right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I'm excited about China's CBDC, 1 billion people. Obviously, don't know how open their wallet's going to be, but they certainly do seem to be taking the lead, at least from a central bank standpoint. The last question: what's the one thing then you'd like the folks on the call to take away? Apologies, to take away about Pax. You know, again, that, you know, that's kind of been your big selling point for Pax.
Yeah, so I guess I would actually say it's not just Pax, but Paxos as a company. And, you know, for all of our stablecoins, Pax, BUSD, HUSD, we really view ourselves as like the infrastructure platform powering all of them. And I would say just like definitely the one thing to take away is just that sort of we think that like our regulation first approach is really unique. And just the fact that we've been able to do that while getting to scale sort of across a number of stablecoins is we think that model, you know, creates a lot of value and has a lot of promise for sort of more mainstream stablecoin adoption over time.
So it makes a lot of sense. You guys have been great contributors to the ecosystem. So thanks a lot for that. Thanks a lot for being on the show, and thanks for everybody for showing up. See you next week.
Thanks a lot for having me, Lou.
Yeah, next week, actually, we have 2 shows on Stablecoins Are Killing It. We're doing a call. The first call is actually a special Stablecoins Are Killing It on Wednesday next week, the 9th, from 1 to 2 p.m. With the team from The Block. And they're going to be going over, they did this great, you know, like 40-page report on CBDC stablecoins, which I don't know about you, Zach, I consider those to actually be a subset of stablecoins.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely in terms of, yeah, digital cash, it's about as big a trend as you can get right now. So definitely, yeah, I think of it similarly.
And then next week on the 14th, Thursday 14th, in the regular scheduled time, we've got the founding team from Ampleforth, which has certainly been one of the most volatile of all the stable coins. You know, but I think a super interesting project, you know, with their rebalancing, and they're super smart guys, so it should be a great show as well. So thanks again, Zach, and we'll see you next week.
Yep, thanks, Lou. Take care, everyone.